Yes, ma'am. I'm the executive secretary.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the October meeting of the Capital Improvements Committee of the Savannah-Chatham County Board of Education. Call this meeting. Calling this meeting to order. We've had our security briefing. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from September 18. Denise Grabowski so moves. Connie Hall seconds. All in favor? Aye. Passed unanimously. Second, we're going to modify the agenda today a little bit given our guests. So we're going to approve the agenda, which I'm going to go over in a minute. We are not going to go through the financials and the project updates that were provided to us. If board members have specific questions about the information presented, either the financials or the project updates, please communicate with Mr. Batra or the superintendent. And the entire packet of information will be posted on the district's website under Capital Improvements Committee later. We're going to then go right into the primary purpose of today, which was to review policy FG, which is our capital projects procurement process, and specifically our LMWBE language and process within that. As a preface to hearing from members of the public who are interested in providing feedback, we're going to do a quick summary of kind of how we got here, why we're here, some legal issues that we should all be reminded of, and some general district data as well, and also existing efforts. So, and then we'll have public speakers, and then we will adjourn. So that is the new agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the new agenda. Dr. Brinkman moves, Ms. Hall seconds, all in favor? Passed unanimously. Okay. So the primary purpose of today, and for all the members of the public, thank you so much for being here. Sometimes we have a lot of attendance at our Capital Improvements Committee meetings, and sometimes we don't. We have a specific procurement policy, policy FG, and related regulations. Within the policy and regulations, we have an LMWBE subsection, and periodically over the last decade or so or longer, we have reviewed that policy. We've advertised public hearings, and we've invited members of the public, particularly contractors that work with us, to provide feedback on our process. What's working, what isn't working, where could we improve? And so the purpose of today was to, again, do that, I think for the fourth time now, at least since I've been on the board. It's to garner feedback related to our procurement process. And what we're going to do, again, is we're going to have brief snippets of information from some district folks, and then we'll open it up for public comment. There was a sign-up sheet that was circulated. If you have come in recently and want to speak, let Mr. Batra know right here, or Mr. Hediger, who's standing over there. We'll get you on the sign-up sheet. And then if anyone needs a translator, we have a translator available as well. Just let us know, and we will provide that as well. So that's the purpose of today, and we're going to start off with Mr. Formey, who was going to do a brief summary of the district's current outreach efforts.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and other board members, for this day and this opportunity. As you see, we have several people here who are entrepreneurs, work hard. Since they can't count on a regular weekly check, I think they don't mind us finishing relatively soon either, because they have to do business. I do want to start off by saying, first of all, I'm Sylvester Formey, just in case it's being recorded and somebody wants to know who I am. I'm not going to read this detail. If somebody has a question about any of it, you can let me know. But I want to start off by saying that the district has always been interested in furthering the interests of the community, all segments of the community. And I'd like to say, over the past several years, with the district supporting the position, we embarked upon what we call a capacity building program. A number of the people that you see in the audience are part of that process. They are not in the least the only folks that are benefiting from the program, but they are doing a pretty good bit. I've been told I need to keep my remarks to 2 or 3 minutes because we do want to hear from those who want to speak. But I also want to say that in a moment, we're probably going to hear from the school board's in-house attorney, my good friend, Mr. Brian Dennison, who will bring what I consider the temporary bad news, okay, with regard to procurement in the United States of America. And I'll let him get into those details because I'll wade in there and say something I shouldn't say, right, Brian? But I'm prone to do that. But I want to start by finish by saying this. I'd like for, there are a few operators out here, women-owned and minority operators, who have done really well. I introduced a few of them last time, a year ago, a year and a half ago, and I'm proud to say that they've come on very strongly and benefited greatly. Now, I want to add this for the sake of what Brian's going to do in a minute, is that these folks are not looking for any type of giveaway. I think part of the concept that came down from the Supreme Court that I'll let Brian talk about has to do with folks thinking that people are looking for, particularly for set-asides and that sort of stuff. But you know what? These folks just want an opportunity. The school board doesn't build capacity. The only thing the school board does is give an opportunity to play on the field. They hire folks like me to assist, to engage other agencies outside to elevate and increase and enhance a minority business's opportunity to do business. So I'm glad to see them here. I hope the folks, some of the folks at least who are in the capacity building program, will at least step up and not only talk about the benefits they've gained, but also what they think we may do to enhance and improve the program. Everything is susceptible to improvement, et cetera. Ben, I want you to sign in if you want to talk as well. Okay, you did. All right. All right. Then I'm going to call you out anyway. There's several of folks in here who I recognize, some I don't. I'm glad to see the group in here. And I got Kurt back there like he's a drum major trying to speed me up. I keep telling you, I'm a son of a Baptist preacher. I'm going to say a little bit. We ain't 3 minutes yet, are we?
Yep. Oh, yeah, well, you got 10 seconds.
They're telling me that they'll hear from me later. So I'll stop.
Thank you.
If somebody has a question, you can let me know.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Formey.
Chairman, I'm turn it over to you.
Appreciate it. So was Mr. Batra going to do a little data presentation, or are we going straight to Mr. Dennison?
Going straight to Dennison.
Okay. Mr. Dennison, legal considerations? Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about the legal context for this particular issue we're facing. The big elephant in the room is the 2023 decision from the United States Supreme Court, Fair Admissions versus Harvard, also known as the Harvard-UNC case. And yes, this case is really in the context of affirmative action, but it's clear from Justice Roberts' opinion that he's intending it to have a broader sweep and scope than simply affirmative action. He speaks of other cases and other contexts. And the big general principle here is that racial discrimination under the 14th Amendment is a two-way street, and that it's subject to strict scrutiny, and that over time, the historic justifications where there were allowances to do things a little more creative are sort of eroding away. And at this point in time, the court is like, you need to treat people the same regardless of what their race may be. So that includes favoring someone for their racial status or the opposite. You know, either way, that's the general feeling of the case, and it has a broad sweep. Now, it doesn't talk specifically about these minority contracting situations, so the question is, what is the broader application of this case? So right now, we have a smattering of cases in various federal courts that have come out challenging different aspects. The presumption of being a disadvantage for a racial group as being unconstitutional in Tennessee, various programs that are really more outreach programs and engagement programs in Kentucky and Texas also being challenged. And I think we're going to see more challenges. We have a famous case, I guess the famous case in this context is the case out of Richmond, the Croson case from several years back, but that struck down a quota. But we're going to see other implications of the Harvard case in these contexts. Other developments, we're seeing veterans being added as a category that folks want to help in these contracting situations. We see that in Georgia in the House Bill 128 that came out last summer. We see it in the federal context. We have issues about how you define minorities, and given the water context, there's aspects about defining gender that are out there because we see that as being an issue. But the thing I want to put an emphasis on is there is an updated regulation that came from the federal government, 2 CFR 200.321. This is about small businesses, engaging small businesses, and I want to track this. It's important to understand the timing of this regulation. This regulation is issued by the federal government a year after, just recently, just this month, more than a year after the Harvard case. So you have a situation here where you can say the federal government is saying that these particular steps that they're taking, that they're endorsing in the regulation, they believe these will hold up to the Harvard case. So the language is when possible, recipient or suburbs, the key thing here is consideration. I want to say this is kind of like engagement as well, but how do we consider these particular minority businesses, women's businesses? Here are the ways. You want to make sure these business types are included in solicitation lists. You can you make sure that they are solicited when they are eligible as potential sources of work. You divide up transactions into the size that allow participation by different groups so that by the sheer size of the project, they're not prevented from coming to the table. You establish delivery schedules that can encourage participation. You utilize organizations such as SBAs, Minority Business Development Agencies, and in order to engage these groups, which is the kind of work that Mr. Formey is doing. And you can require a contractor under a federal award to apply this section to its subcontracts. So this is sort of, I'd say, the sandbox that has been established under these federal regulations. These are the activities that they're saying you can do these sorts of things. So I think when we look at a focus of area as we're looking at revising our policy, this is a good sort of guidance to look at as we design what we're doing. And if you look at our existing policy, you see a lot of parallels already with this in terms of our approach. One other guiding principle that we see in these federal regulations, this is in 12 CFR 4.61. Here, the OCC awards contracts consistent with the principles of full and open competition and best value acquisition, and with the concept of contracting for agency needs at the lowest practical cost. And this is in the context of a similar initiative to assist minorities and also firms with members that have disabilities, persons with disabilities in this particular regulatory context. But this general principle's got to apply. We ultimately need to do what is best for the district in terms of what we're acquiring and what we're able to deliver. So we have to balance that. Always look at that as sort of the guiding star. Is like what's good for the district in terms of what can be delivered. At the same time, how can we engage and bring groups in to maximize participation and make sure everybody can get to the table as best as we can get them there. So. Thank you. That
new federal regulation hasn't been analyzed since Harvard. Is that right?
It was adopted after Harvard, so we don't have any. It just came in in October, so it could be subject to challenge.
Yeah, okay. But, It just hasn't been analyzed under Harvard. All right. Any state considerations?
Well, like this, the state consideration is the House Bill 128, which is adopted and added the veterans component, and is also revising how different groups are defined. It gets back to that challenge of definition, and that applies to state contracts. We can also look to it. So I think it's another eyeglass that we should be looking at as we look at our policy, even though it's not particularly controlling on exactly what we're doing. So,
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dennison.
thank you.
As noted, this is part of a periodic process where we review our policies and we review our procurement practices. And this is one particular stage in that process. It's not the end of that process. And I think Ms. Davidson's going to talk about kind of where we are and where we go from here.
Good morning. So,
Good morning.
As mentioned, we recognize the value of reviewing our opportunity to improve our process. So really diving into, this is a policy that was established several years ago. So how can we work within our guidelines, our parameters, but really enhance it? So what we've done so far is we've established an advisory group with internal partners. That advisory group began to meet in October. We started diving into the policy, reviewing solicitations, educating ourselves on what do we really require and what's our follow-up. So when we say this, do we follow up and actually do what we say we do? The recommended changes from this advisory group will go to the CIC, this body, in January. And then we plan to have the submissions for the policy, the first read in February, and then the adoption recommendation in March of the board meeting. We have had multiple communication back to the community about this opportunity, so we are so thankful that you are here today and giving us this opportunity, because we really want to hear your feedback. We want to know how we can improve. And then we do acknowledge that we have opportunities to enhance. So perhaps we could have additional procurement training. Procurement is one of those areas that it is hard. We are fortunate as a district to have experts in the procurement world, but not everybody is an expert. So how can we help our community partners better navigate that? Enhance our communication, so have maybe additional newsletters or put more information on the website. So if you want to do business with the district, step by step on how do you do this, right? So that is our spirit of continuous improvement and what we're working on right now. So now, Mr. Chair, I'm going to turn it back over to you for
Great.
feedback.
Dr. Brinkman?
Before public comment, sorry to throw a pause. Do our current practices in procurement meet the guidelines of the new federal regulation, the Georgia House Bill 128, Harvard 2023, or do we see that we have, with these new rulings, are stepping out of the lane that they've created?
I think we see that our approach is largely in the lane at, the existing approach, but we do need to look at the changes. I mean, obviously, we don't have a veterans component, but we're going to have to give it a careful look given those changes. Because, yeah, there are changes, but I think the original policy was designed with an eye towards these sorts of challenges coming to roost. So I do think that we are generally aligned, but there could be some fine tuning that needs to happen in terms of on the legal standpoint, just to ensure that we are within the bounds of the current law.
Okay, and under the considerations, they say a bunch of things that consideration means. Did they have a section that said consideration does not mean this? Like,
No.
Okay, they did not. Okay. They didn't say don't do this. That would have been, okay.
No.
Ms. Hall?
Mr. Dennison, would you say that Georgia and the school district here in Chatham has traditionally and historically been wedded to the mandates of the federal government? Do we tend to fall right in line and make sure that we are carrying out all of the dictates?
I would say, in all my experience working with the school district, we have had an eye towards what the federal government requires in everything we do to try to make sure that we are compliant with federal law, yes.
If federal law and state law do not align, which way has the district gone?
If the federal, well, there are particular scenarios where that is the case, Ms. Hall, and I think the classic lawyer answer is it depends, but we try to navigate that as carefully as possible.
Okay. I think I just want to say that we, as a board, I've been on the board since 2012, have always tried to be as mindful of our integrity as possible. That has always been our conduct. And I hope in going forward that we can be wedded to law, but keep our integrity intact.
Yes.
Dr. Bringley?
Yeah. Our current policy allows the individuals of the district that are reviewing RFPs, RFIs, to have some weight given to LMWBEs. In your legal lens, is that allowable after the ruling of Harvard 2023?
We're talking about the weighting of a plan. So it's a plan, I view that as a plan of engagement. So if you're weighting a plan of engagement and you are allowed to engage and provide consideration, then I would say that that current approach, places value on something that is legitimate, at least legitimate according to the federal government right now, post-Harvard.
Okay, good. I don't want to have to roll back. But if
Well, let's not put
Yeah.
ourselves on the spot right now either. So that's why we're here, is to analyze how the policy is drafted, how it's being implemented, and where can we maintain our integrity and our policy goals while also being compliant with state and federal law, right? Okay. Let's move on to public comments, why everyone is really here. We appreciate, again, engagement from the public. We have a series of speakers. Several people came in recently, so if you wanted to speak and you have not signed up on our meeting list, let Mr. Hediger, who's walking in the back, know, or raise your hand, and we will get you on the speaking list. If you need a translator, we have a translator available as well. Just let us know. So the first person who has signed up to speak, let me back up. When you come up to speak, please give us your name, the company or entity you represent. And because of the number of speakers, we're going to ask everyone to limit their comments to 3 minutes. And then finally, if you have any written materials you want to provide, we will take those as well. You can give them to somebody over here, and we'll make sure they get distributed to the board. So with that, Ms. Shawana Marshall. You can come up over here. Podium right there. Again, you just give us your name and the entity you're with.
My name is Shawana Marshall. My business is S&S Supply, and I'm a nervous speaker, okay?
You're good.
I provide construction material to the contractors. I've worked on several projects here in Savannah. In Market Arena, that's one of them. I was on 8 packages for that. I'll be quick. The fireproofing material, I supplied. Even the ice skating rink, I actually had to get approved by the Homeland Security. I said, I'm glad I've never done anything. But, and the mechanical plumbing. But anyway, currently, I'm working with TQ Constructors on the Bloomingdale Elementary project. And my contract is almost $2 million, and it's been helping my business grow. Another thing I wanted to say is, like as a supplier, you have to get vendors, you have to get a credit line. So it's helped me because once the 3 vendors that I'm purchasing the material from for TQ, for the elementary, I feel like I would have gotten approved, but I feel like it was quicker, it was faster because they knew that I was doing business with the school system. So and that will help me working on some other projects, having a credit line. So yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall.
All right.
Let me ask you a question since we have 1 minute and 40 seconds. Is there anything about our specific procurement policy or our process that you think, hey, we can make this better or would even be more beneficial for your business or similar businesses?
Well, I haven't noticed anything yet because I just started in December working with the program. I haven't, I guess I'll say this. If, like with the city of Savannah, they have people, a division that calls you to check on to see how things are going with you and your contractors and stuff, which everything has been, great for the city, and everything has been great here. There was a problem with the in-market arena a little bit, but everything was, it worked itself out. But like I said, I haven't had any problems with my contractor. Everything has been perfect, but, that may not be the case for other subcontractors or suppliers. So I think it'd be kind of good if they kind of check in and see, how is it going. But like I said, it's going great for me.
Great.
So,
Thank you
but
so
that's
much,
it.
and you did a great job. No
Thank
need to
you.
be nervous. We appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, Cale Collier. And we've had a request, in addition to stating your name and your business, if you could state how many employees you have or contractors you work with, if appropriate.
My name is Cale Collier. I'm with McKnight Construction. We have about 30 to 40 actual employees, depending on the time, but we work with many contractors throughout this area. One of the things we've done a lot of work with the Savannah Chatham School District, and I think you guys deserve a little bit of credit for administering the program better. We deal a lot throughout Georgia. A lot of the counties have the same LMWB, different kind of programs as this is, but they just want the number. They don't administrate it. Mr. Formey's been a big help. If you need to find somebody, he does help you. Plus, with your being on the projects and you guys paying attention to this committee, these guys are actually working, doing what they're asked. They're not just out for a paycheck. So it's allowed us to grow our business with your school districts as well. The other thing is we've actually opened an office recently in Savannah. That's the only satellite office we have because of this fact. It's helped us to actually grow our sub base down here. We know people that can actually work. We've had some really good luck with the local community. We are a woman-owned company. We don't get any credit for that. So I think sometimes you guys are missing, we're a large company, so we can't take that as a status. But you guys see more of that minority-driven, woman-owned driven, veteran-owned. A lot of these other companies are veteran-owned that you guys really can't take credit for that I think you should be tracking because I think you guys are seeing more than you're actually having numbers on paper. So I just wanted to give a little kudos to your operations department. Ms. Hall, you've always been very vocal about it during the awards ceremony or the awards of the contracts, and we appreciate that. And you guys actually pay attention to what's done. So I don't really have any suggestions for you except to keep doing it. You're doing it better than a lot of the counties around are doing it. And we appreciate that as a contractor.
Thank you for coming today. Miguel Camacho.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Miguel Camacho of Brownstone Construction Group. He pretty much said everything I was about to say, so I'm not gonna but to make it short, I'm Brownstone Construction Group. We have 42 employees. I started with Brownstone in 2008, and I was one of the first 3 people that got hired. When we got into this program and got our first project here, we doubled our company from 3 to 6 employees. So the point I'm making is, yes, this program has been a great part of our growth at Brownstone. Like I said, when I was at 1 to 3, in the last meeting we had, we up to 42 employees. Looking at the projects we do in South Carolina, Georgia, and North Carolina, I would actually say, out of the government entities we work with, Charleston and Savannah do the best job of reaching out and making sure that we get people and companies engaged. And then everybody has to remember, this is about qualified firms not being overlooked. And I think that Savannah does a very good job. The school board does a very good job in making sure that qualified firms have opportunity to participate. And it's really nothing I can say anything wrong with it. Some people are not going to be happy, but again, what is their purpose? Are you actually here to grow a company? If you're here to grow a company, I believe the opportunities are here with the school board. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Appreciate you coming today. Greg Sanders.
Good evening. Good morning.
Good morning.
Greg
Close enough.
Sanders with Image Keepers Building Services. We've learned in this program, Image Keepers Building Services. We've been in this program from day one, from Godley Station School. We started out primary. My business is a cleaning business. But when you see the building service component to it, we diverse ourselves because I've been in construction. I worked with Walter Carson for about 10 years. So I have a knack with construction. So we were able to grow with companies like Elkins. Miguel and I, we worked together on their first project. J.E. Dunn, the gentleman just was up here, McKnight. We just did some work with them. We're doing some work with them now at Groves. So the program has begun pretty good. We do need some oversight, similar to the young lady was talking about what the city was doing coming out. We need someone from you guys, a team to just come and check on some of the companies, because we got new companies doing this. And the older guys like J.E. Dunn and a few other companies, they know what you guys asked for. And you brought some other companies that's in now from some of the other areas. They do business the way they were doing business there. And I think we need to kind of not police them, but just come around and check on the subs. And like I said, the program has been pretty good. Right now, insurance is a big thing now. All the insurance is going up. And they've been asking me to have a lot of umbrellas on some of these packages that we don't build a school, we just actually get it ready to open. But other than that, I think everything, Sylvester's been doing what he's supposed to be doing sometime. Sometime. But that's all I got to say. All right.
All I got from that was Sylvester sometimes does what he's supposed to be doing. Mr. Sanders, thank you for your time and for your feedback. And for everyone who's spoken so far, we appreciate the kudos. We do want to see the warts and problems and suggestions as well. So, feel free to tell us what we can do better or different or improve. Elizabeth Kamalakis? Good morning.
Yes, I'm Elizabeth Kamalakis with Coach Light Tours, and a former school teacher working with the Board of Education in line of travel and educational tours since 1996. So you can see I'm an antique on the wall. So I've got great experience with it, but I'm the one that's going to give you the bump in the road. We've had issues with RFPs that come to us, and by the time they get to us and we call to make reservations or to check prices, somebody else in the business world here in Savannah has already called 2 or 3 weeks in advance. So how do they get the information in advance? To me, we do a lot of contracts with outside school districts. Chatham County is the only district that we deal with. We have a contract with the University of South Carolina and their athletic department that does not do business this way. We have contracts with Glenn County, Jasper County, Beaufort County. All of them procure in the sense that they get a line of travel partners. The teachers are allowed to call those people and make their own reservations instead of them going through purchasing department. We had an incident on Monday that 2 buses showed up. We were the first one to get there, because we got a call at 4:45 on Friday afternoon that they needed a bus at 4:30 Monday morning. So we scrambled to get that driver for a bus. We got there first, and the teacher plainly said to us, well, we've got another bus coming, so they're cheaper than you are, so we're going to let you go. We didn't even submit a cost. We have the contract. We didn't even submit a cost to how much it was going to be, so how did she know? The procurement part of this is not working with the board. One day you're going to have 56 kids sitting on a curb that somebody's not going to show up, and that's not going to be me. I don't care about a female business or anything. I can match with the best of any of them, because it's all about service and what type of service you provide. And we can't provide the service that we give to people if we don't get what we need to provide that service. I think the procurement situation going through the purchasing department needs to be realigned, and it needs to be addressed before kids are left sitting on a curb.
Ms. Kamalakis, thank you for your comments. Let me ask you a question. When you said we get the RFP, but people have already responded, are you getting the RFP by emails that come to you, or are you
Yes.
checking the district's procurement
No, we get the
website?
RFPs that come directly to us because I own buses. We have motor coaches. So we get athletic department requests for buses for when they have playoffs or games out of town or something to that effect. Field trips. As a former school teacher, my heart is in educational tours. So I've lived by what St. Augustine said, the world is a book. If you do not travel, you read but a page. So that's where we come as far as in line with trying to provide educational travel for students.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Dr. Brinkman?
Just a clarification. I think I was getting that from other areas that you work with, they have a list, they put out one RFP for 5 or 6 companies that are going to be their rotating list that schools can just contact. And we are
Exactly.
not doing that. We are doing
You're not.
one-offs every time.
It all has to come through purchasing, and there's a different purchasing agent for each school because the schools are divided into the areas, and one purchasing person handles so many schools and so many other
Okay.
schools.
So where you've seen it work is a district or an entity has X number of companies that they've said, you're on our go
Love
list.
our
Okay.
relationship with Jasper County and Beaufort County schools because we're on their list of travel, and they might list you as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 based on the RFP that you submit to them. University of South Carolina has the same process. We right now are the primary carrier for University of South Carolina because of the quotes that we submitted to them.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Ben Adams?
No, y'all not in that much trouble. I know normally y'all be in a little bit of trouble when I come up here, but it's all right. Ben Adams, B&B Demolition. Good morning to Mr. Chair, Mr. President, Madam Soup, but more importantly, other than the board, all my distinguished Bulldogs in the building. You know, it is homecoming eve, so I got to say what's up to all my Bulldogs. I would like to say, being in business with my dad since I've been 12 years old, we own B&B Demolition Company. We participated in a number of capital improvement projects, a number of demolition projects. I can say when it comes to accepting criticism and changing policy and moving forward, the board has been good with that. They kept us out of doing jobs for quite a while saying, hey, you can't bid or participate in a project unless you demo or participate in 5 schools. So we'd go to get in, and the requirement was 5 schools. And my dad came up here and was like, look, y'all are the teachers. I'm just the old man that runs a demolition company, but help me understand, how do you get to 5 if you don't start with 1? And it went from none to, I don't know, we did, Pops, 5, 6 schools. We had 5 like that. And we participated from Rice Mill or Rice Creek all the way up to most recently the Pulaski project out, on the south side. So I will say when it comes to accepting criticism and changing policy and making sure it works for the people, you guys are good with that. So kudos to you. I hope you guys continue that work, as people bring forward problems that we need addressed, like the procurement situation that's going on. I will say, Formy has been very good in the position of, if there's a problem, if you need to get in contact with someone as far as dealing with contractors, you call Formy. He will, I don't know, if he go and jack them for their wallet or put his foot on his neck, but he make things happen. So I appreciate him for doing that. Now, all the good stuff out the way. What I will say is when it comes to the bidding process that is taking place, particularly I know you experimented with the situation of removing demolition, letting the school board kind of handle that, and then let the contractor, the general contractor, take care of building. I will suggest that in any part of the situation, check these bidders, right? Because I'm sure there are other contractors in here who could relate. You have bidders who will come in and they will undercut or underbid a lot of us local business owners. And a lot of us are working to build capacity, all right? There's no way that we can build capacity when these multi-million-dollar corporations, they're coming in and they can do the bid dirt cheap and say we'll do it dirt cheap, or they'll turn around and bid it dirt cheap and then add all of the change orders to build it back up to where a lot of us would have been in the process. So if we're going to build capacity and we're going to work towards making sure that local minority businesses or disadvantaged businesses are participating in the process, I would definitely pay attention to, you know, these larger companies that are coming in. And even if it is they have a decent number, if you have a person here who has the capacity to do it, I would kind of see about pushing towards having them do the process, because we're building local, and a lot of these companies are coming out of town and they're taking the money out of town. While we have kids here, while we're spending taxes here, paying taxes, we don't get that check. So I would ask that you look into that, kind of put your foot on their neck. And as far as the policy is concerned, I know we're kind of dealing with like the minority and trying to stay away from race. Maybe kind of focus on capacity and local if it comes to that point. You seem to have a great lawyer here. He seems to be pretty good at what he does. Kind of experiment with that, and then that will kind of remove any kind of issue when it comes to race. Because we're working on building capacity here for businesses. From there, I think I'm done.
Mr. Adams, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate your comments. Bobby Adams, or Sarge.
Well, as in life, two people blocked. I did not know that he was here going to be. We both said we was going to make it, and once we signed the list, we was on the list. So he hit the number one point. I will say this to you all. I had a stroke in 2020, and sometimes I get to start talking and my mouth lock up, and I can't say what I want. If I step back, then I'll get it out. What I'm saying is I am happy with the growth, because I do remember the day I came here in 2015, they wouldn't let me bid for no problem because I hadn't did it 5. He hit that, so we'll leave that alone. I'll say this to you. It is better for these companies to be bigger if you, the school board, could give them directly contracts. Reason being, in order to get these people a job, for them to get a job, they go, when they certain amount of money, you got to get, yeah. So therefore, if you're doing the job and you got the money and got your credit ready where you're supposed to get your own thing. Most of the times I found that many of the schools, the contractors, they give you they charge you for the insurance from them. Whereas after you leave that job, when you go to bid, you still can't use the privacy of doing it. But now you done paid for it, you got it, you did it right, and your company's getting bigger and bigger because. Now, if you got people that's not doing what they're supposed to do, why are you carrying them? The base job is to do the job. That's the first thing. We're about to do the job. Okay, they like you because you're dark, or you like you because you're red like me. That is not what we're about. We're about getting the job done and make sure people do what they're supposed to do. Don't sign the list and then wait for the other folks to do the money and give you the check. When you sign up to do the job, do the job. And if they put it back to the school, purchasing, start giving direct contracts to a company, small one, like demo, or they're going to do in the road, you're going to do the highway, the parking lot, that gives them their own ability. They go into the job instead of going to Mr. Boss, can I have a job? Hey, man, I want that job because I can do it. And getting more people to do it, the better you are. And I'll say to you, Ms. Hall, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because she was the first person that went with me when I was fighting to get the demo, the first one. So thank you, and keep pushing it, keep pushing it. Thank you.
Mr. Adams, thanks for coming this morning. Appreciate your comments. C.L. Gayhart.
All right, I've been listening to all the positive. Here's one more negative. I'm C.L. Gayhart. I own Savannah Architectural Supply. We've been in business for 33 years, supplying doors and hardware to facilities, and tried to do Board of Education. Won the contract last year and never got an order. Here it is, we're in the 10th month and no one's ever called, no one's ever asked for a price. So I don't know what's going on with it, but it's obviously someone has dropped the ball on y'all's end.
Was it for a specific project or just?
No, it's a job, it's any job under $100,000 to supply the doors and hardware.
Okay. They noted that, and we'll take a look.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate you coming today. Thank you. Tony Riley.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Tony Riley, concerned citizen, and I'm here to address some concerns I have concerning the Jacob G. Smith project and how that contract was awarded. I put in a request, open records request for the matrix for that deal. And what I don't understand is, according to the scores, TQ contractors had the highest score, but Belford Beatty received the award of the contract. And then I want to know how that come about. And the second thing that I want to know is, if you all have a local women, men, minority policy, how do you carry out that policy? Because at that meeting in September, it was stated that local doesn't mean local. So I need to understand how that policy is written, and if it was written by you all, why are you all dancing around local and giving these projects to companies out of London and other states? The other thing that I'm concerned about is the fact that Mr. Formey has been the liaison between local and minority-owned companies to do business with the school board under East Bluffs, and he has had this contract for several years, and it has not been put up or let for a bid for anybody else to see if they could come and do a better job than what he's been doing, because I feel personally that he's not serving the school board, nor is he serving this local community the way he should be, or way the job should be conducted. I sent a open records request this week to follow up on the information that I received last week, a couple of weeks ago, because of it stating that it was the initial matrix. So I wanted to know if there was another one, and if there was some problem with Belford Beatty's first bid, as I heard earlier, that folks put in a low bid, then they come back and they want to add more money to the bids. And so that's why I was concerned about whether this was initial, whether considering the fact that your records show that TQ constructors received a score of 452, and Belford Beatty had a score of 370.
Mr. Riley, that's 3 minutes. Could you?
Oh, I didn't know that we had a time. I'm sorry.
I announced it earlier. Just
Yeah,
go ahead and wrap up your
I apologize
comments.
for being late. So if you all, when do you all plan to address the concerns that are being raised
We
here?
went over that earlier as well. There's a process that we're going to take in these comments, review our policies, and I think by early 2025, we'll have any recommendations for policy revisions.
So you all will address these concerns that we have here?
We will review them.
Before you start asking the community to vote to pass East Plus 5?
Well, the current timeline is that we're going to review, and I think recommendations, if any, will be made in January. So we haven't set a date for East Blost 5, but it would be later in 2025.
Okay. And also, will you all be addressing whether or not the $306,000 contract that Mr. Formey has to solicit minority and local businesses?
I'm going to end you.
That's good.
Okay, but I'm going to answer your questions, and then we're going to move on, because everybody, I want to be fair to everybody. Everybody got 3 minutes. Number one, Mr. Dennison right there addresses our open records request. So he's right there, right to your left.
Talk the other one on time, but I didn't get this one in time.
Talk to him. Okay, hold on. Talk to him about any continuous open records request, number one. Number two, our policy has and has had a specific definition of local. It's in our policy. It's one, performing a commercially useful function within the local office. Two, having a current business tax certificate and other licenses, certificates or permits required by law to operate a business. And three, having established a regular physical place of business other than a job site office with at least one employee within the geographical boundaries of the Savannah, Georgia metropolitan statistical area prior to the closing date of the solicitation. So that's our definition of local. Every time we've invited public comment, we've had discussion about what that means. We've had some people come in and say, you're only local if you were born in Savannah and have an office within city boundaries. We have other people who say local should be anybody who does any business here at any time. And our job as a board is to balance our policy goals of building capacity with LMWB companies while also ensuring we have a vibrant bidder pool so that it's not only one or two companies that will qualify every single time. And that's the definition of local now. So if you or anyone else has input on the current definition of local, we're happy to take that. Please provide it in writing. And then finally, on the Jacob G. Smith project, again, talk to Mr. Dennison. And on the contract with Vanguard, that contract that request for proposals has gone out consistent with every East Blost program. And we've had bidders and subject to open bidding and review with every new East Blost that we've done. So the next, my assumption would be, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the board, but if we follow past practice and on behalf of the district, that if there is another East Blost, there would be another request for proposals related to the contract. And we try to time vendor contracts with the timing of East Blost. It wouldn't make sense to have a vendor provide community outreach services for year 1 and 2 of East Blost and then change to different vendors unless there were performance issues. And there is a periodic or a yearly review and reporting from Vanguard on that. So that contract is let out regularly. So that's to answer your 3 questions.
That's what I thought too, because I saw that it was renewed last year, and the year before last, you made the motion to renew it. Ms. Hall seconded. The next time she made the motion to renew it, and you seconded.
Okay.
So it was done on a yearly basis, seemed like to me. But maybe I just can't read and
Yeah,
comprehend.
the renewal was. Mr. Riley, thank you for your comments. If you have additional questions, feel free to email Mr. Dennison, and we can respond in kind. Ashley Scott.
Give me some of that time, because I do have some more.
No, Ashley Scott.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ashley Scott. I'm president of SDG Construction Services. I just want to thank the Savannah Chatham Public School System. We were awarded the Jenkins project, what we just recently finished. It was a nurse renovation, so that went wonderful. And we also were recently awarded the Garrison project, the security vestibule. I do want to thank Sunny and Formey. They do follow in with us. They we actually met with them yesterday to discuss, hey, how's everything going? How's the school system treating you? And then the CMs that are actually over the nurse, like Peter was over Jenkins and Peter's going to be over Garrison, so they do follow up with us. And they're also working with us to get us some future projects. Like I know the Georgetown's coming up soon, so hopefully we will be able to partner on that. So thank you all both for your dedication and your time. One thing I would say as just a recommendation, I would say, when it comes to these larger GCs, I think it would be good to ask them for a diversity plan. I think a lot of them do not have a division within their company. So when you ask them, hey, how much percentage of DEI or diversity are you going to have on this project, I know that's a good faith effort that they'll say, oh, we'll have an outreach, we'll do this, but what is their actual plan? Have they contacted the Chambers of Commerce? Have they contacted NAWIC? NABWIC is another organization as well. So I think that's something to definitely follow up on larger GCs. And then when you have your OAC meetings with them, let them show you their percentage of diverse companies that they have and how much money is going to those diverse companies. That's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Scott, thank you for coming this morning. We appreciate it. That is it for our speaker list. I'm happy if there's anyone else in the audience who came in late and wants to share comments on our procurement policy, our LMWB process. Raise your hand, stand up. Okay. Just a few closing. We do. Reverend Smith, did you?
Thank you to everyone that came out today, and thank you for your feedback and comments on what we can do to be better. One question that was posed, or one statement that was made from Mr. Ben Adams, it was along the lines of some bidders bidding in low and then climbing once they get the job. My question is that a normal practice, and how do we circumvent that from becoming a problem?
That's really a question for
Mr. Sonny?
I guess for Sonny.
Thank you. It is not a normal practice. In fact, since I've taken over, it hasn't happened yet. So I cannot speak about the past.
Gotcha.
I will say, so Ms. Hall and I have been on the school board for a long time. I've been on there since 2011, Ms. Hall since 2012, and we both helped grow and nurture this policy and this process. And to Mr. Adams' point, there was the 5-year or the 5 project requirement early on. We heard feedback from the community and we altered that. And then there was some feedback early on as well of people putting in low bids just to get the work and making it up in other parts of the project, or submitting a lot of change orders to try to recoup at least some profit and any losses. And so what we instituted several years ago was a quarterly change order review process where facilities brings to us requested change orders, and we can see what was at the request of the owner, us, versus the request of the contractor. And over the last several years, Ms. Hall, I think you would agree that the number of change orders where we say, well, why didn't they know they'd have to do that when they put the bid in? Or why should we increase the contract cost because the low bidder didn't bid correctly, has been reduced significantly, almost to nothing. So I know our facilities folks are cognizant of that issue, but the related issue there is size. So if I'm a multi-billion-dollar, 1,000-employee business, I can put in a bid and my margin's going to be a lot lower because I have purchasing power with labor and with materials. And that's business. That's not a legal issue. But because of that disparity, and we're trying, the purpose of our policy is to grow capacity locally with smaller businesses, that is something we should and can pay attention to. So that point was well taken.
Awesome. Thank you.
Dr. Howard Hall?
Yes, first of all, thank you, everybody that came out today. I am a copious note taker. I take thorough notes, and I appreciate everybody's feedback. And just to piggyback on something that Mr. Ben Adams said about building capacity, that is something that Mr. Formey is really very serious about, because building capacity is how we improve with our small businesses. And for example, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I know with the demolition business, a large company might own all of the heavy equipment that they need for demolition, whereas a smaller company has to go out and rent the different materials. So that's the difference in the prices. So it's really very important to pay close attention to building capacity. I appreciate, again, everybody's feedback. We heard the good, the bad, and maybe in some instances the ugly, but we take everything that you said very serious, and thank you so much for everything that you do and that you're doing. Thank you.
Did any other board members want to say anything? Ms. Hall?
Just very quickly, I really thank all of you who make sure that our parents of the children we serve and the community workers get to work. That is really the reason for all of this. We want to make sure, so those people, someone asked, Mr. Riley asked about the East Plus 5. We want our parents and our voters to feel that their endorsement of East Plus is because they know we are going to make a definite concerted effort to see that local citizens who pay taxes, who can vote for East Plus, are involved and reap the benefit, the financial benefit that we offer. So I thank all of you who are very concerned about that and about seeing that as many of our Chatham County citizens get to work for your companies.
For those of you who are sitting there going, are they really going to do anything today, or is this just a dog and pony show? So this is the third or fourth time we've asked for public input. Based on previous sessions where we've gotten public input, we've taken a closer look on breaking down our large jobs into smaller components so smaller companies can bid. We've done some direct bidding rather than do everything through a general contractor. Those were two themes that we heard from our feedback. One of the themes we've heard all along since I've been here is it's difficult. My bonding capacity, I don't want to max it out, or insurance issues as well. And we've continuously explored, is there a way to do for the district or require the GC to bear some of the expense of the insurance or the bonding capacity. The flip side of that is we have to make educated, reasonable risks and choices. And at the end of the day, if we're building a $100 million school that needs to be open by the start of school in a particular year, we can't take a flyer on a company that might not perform, and then we have to trigger the bond, and the whole thing gets delayed 6 months. So we're also doing risk assessments. We're also assessing past performance. But I think insurance and bonding is a recurring issue that comes up. That's something I think we can take another look at. So we do care about your comments. We do follow through. There's a record of doing that. So again, thank you for spending some time with us today. If any of you were not comfortable speaking in public, but you have things you'd like to share, we've got district staff here. The board members up here, our cell numbers and email addresses are on our website. We're happy to take feedback, or grab us after this meeting, and we're happy to take additional feedback. And with that, we look forward to the improvement process that we went through earlier. We'll be evaluating this over the rest of this year and reviewing the policy early 2025 and going forward from there. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.